It's not about politics, it's about football.
This is a simple game.
We're going to run the ball, and we're going to pass the ball. He's just going to play football, really.
How good of a football player are you?
I just get in and try to spin it. That's all.
I just love the game.
It really is the best time of the year.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to It's Just Football here on PFF's YouTube channel. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That is Mike Renner. Recapping a fantastic finish of Monday Night Football. Never knew what was going to happen the whole time. Who was going to stand up? Who was going to blow it? We're going to talk about all the performances, both good and bad, for Monday Night Football. We're also going to get to our Dogs of the Week. We promised yesterday because we didn't have enough time for it. We're going to get to it today. And, of course, we're going to hear from you guys. Get the chat involved as much as possible. Appreciate you guys tuning into the show. Mike, you gave me a weird face. You weren't into Monday Night Football last night?
Well, I was wondering who was actually going to catch a pass is what I was wondering, because it seemed like both sides of the ball were letting stuff slip.
That was the mystery. That was the I can't put the game down. Yeah. You didn't know who was going to step up because somebody was going to need to.
Was it Kenny Galladay or was it CeeDee Lamb?
No.
CeeDee did kind of step up there.
You had as many catches as Kenny Galladay last night.
Okay, well, I'm not getting paid as much as Kenny Galladay.
No, you're not. No, you're not. But maybe you should. Maybe you go to the contract. You should go to the PFF contract negotiating table next time your contract
Kenny Galladay
is up.
stats in mind.
Yes. With Kenny Galladay's PFF Ultimate stats, and be like, look at this dude. He's getting $18 million a year. You know, I want half of that. You know, just give me half of that.
At least, I mean, $18 million a year though. They are paying for Dave Gettleman's sins there in New York.
It's ugly. It's absolutely ugly. Well, what's up, everybody who's watching the show? We got a fun one here for you today. Before we get into Refresh the Timeline, I want to introduce the people behind the glass who are making this show possible. We got Sav, Stone, Eli, and Quinn there with us. How y'all feeling in the production suite? I feel like y'all are bundled up today. Like, is it cold in there? Y'all like jacking the air down?
It's exceptionally cold. It's hot in here, but it's exceptionally cold outside. I know you guys know about that. You got the Tampa Bay Devil Rays shirt on.
I know.
Slick.
I know.
But it's not Tampa Bay weather here.
It was cold walking to work. There's no doubt about it. I won't lie. I walked out of the door and I went, regret.
First day of the year where you could like legitimately see your breath.
Yeah. 48 degrees. It was cold. Cool. I was on the driving range this morning. It was cold out there.
You were on the driving range this morning?
Yeah. It's every morning.
Wait, every morning?
Yeah, I go to the driving range.
Never mind. Maybe you don't deserve Kenny Galladay's contract. I need to hear working. You need to put it in. Quinn, what's the question of the day today?
Yeah, so Micah Parsons has 17 sacks in his first career 18 games. That's the most in NFL history. Who are the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Who are the other names? Here it is right here on the screen. I flubbed it. I flubbed it. We had the smell and salts going. Should be good to go, but I'm not.
All right,
yeah,
Mike.
So who are the 4 other players that have 16 plus? I'll give you guys a hint. We're not going to answer this to the end of the show, but I'll give you guys a hint.
Okay.
3 of them were active within the last 3 years. And the 4th one, you got to go back, we'll say, like, to our childhood days.
Okay. All right. So Micah Parsons, 17 sacks in 18 career games. 4 other players have 16 plus. Name the other players. So we're trying to get 4 names here that have had 16 sacks in their first 18 career games.
I have an idea of a few.
I have a couple of early guesses. Should we say them, or should we wait for our guesses at the end of the show too? Because I want to hear.
You can say whatever you want.
Okay. Who do you think?
We'll reveal it at the end of the show.
I have one that
if you guys
want
to spit ideas, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So we've already got one answer in the chat. There's a couple people firing it off right now. What do you think?
I think Alden Smith's definitely one.
So that was one that I immediately thought of because
I think he had the rookie sack record.
The start to his career was nuts.
Yeah. It was insane start. I mean, he still is insane, but not on the football field anymore. But.
That was too far.
Yeah.
That was a little too far. I think, Alden Smith's a really good guess. We'll have our official guesses at the end of the show, but the other name that stands out is J.J. Watt, because Watt had a ton early on, didn't he?
Second year he did. Year 1 was kind of quiet.
He was like the fastest to 20 or was 25.
Was he? Okay.
J.J.
I know Vaughn was super. Vaughn started out hot his career, and I know who was the other one that I was gonna say. I can't think of the other one I was gonna say.
Okay, all right. Y'all think about it in the chat. This is a good one. This is a really good one. We're talking 4 players who had 16 or more sacks within their first 18 games.
And my going back one, I would guess, is Reggie White, because he didn't start in the NFL. He started in the USFL, right? And then he came to the NFL after a year, and then as soon as he got
another
to the NFL,
hint? No, we don't want another hint. Don't want another hint yet. If you give us a hint, give us a hint midway through the show, because I want to see how many guesses that we can get. I want to see if people can get to this one without as much help as possible. But if we're really struggling midway through the show, we'll get a hint, and then we'll get the final answers at the end of the show. So I already see some people firing off some names in the chat. Some of them that we've said already. Some of them might be different. But we promise if we're taking one of your answers from you, we'll give you props here. As much as people want to believe that we cheat on this show, I promise you we don't. Trivia is fun for us too, so we are making sure that we are having fun with it too. It's a game for us here on the set, but let's get into refreshing the timeline. Let's refresh the timeline from what we saw last night in Monday Night Football. Dallas comes away with the win, 23-16 over the New York Giants. Giants lost 7 Monday night games in a row?
Ugh.
I think I read that. Adam Schefter said that. That's, I think, the last time that the Giants played the Cowboys in New York or in MetLife and won on Monday Night Football was 1999. It's been a while.
Oh, wow.
It's been a while here.
Interesting.
So, didn't happen last night. Cooper Rush, an absolute stud. We'll get to that. Absolute stud. Elite, one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL now, apparently.
Dude,
Dak should watch his over his shoulder.
The takes were just unbelievable, man. I saw someone say that Cooper Rush is more talented than Dak Prescott. Maybe not better, but more talented.
Maybe spike in his hair.
Dude, I don't know.
But I don't know. And outside of that, I really don't.
I mean, I'm not going to hate on him. He played well. I'm not going to hate on his performance at all, but we can take it easy. We don't have to go there.
We don't. We
just don't.
I feel like I say that every morning now when I look at NFL takes. We don't have to go there. We really don't. We don't have to go that far. There was a moment before the game that was really funny that I wanted to point out, and it was it felt like a classic Jerry Jones clip. Jerry Jones was walking around the stadium. Obviously, he was there at every Cowboys game, and there were some Cowboys fans that were sitting in row 1, and they wanted to get a picture with Jerry. Jerry tried to facilitate it, to give him credit. But he's got no idea what the hell is going on with that phone. That's the most boomer stance I've ever seen to try to get a picture taken. Somebody was saying that he needs a selfie stick. My guy hired a selfie stick.
I was gonna say, I love that he gives it to someone else to take a selfie for him, and not a picture. A guy could pull back and take a real picture, but
right.
he gets someone else to take a selfie of him.
I feel like
power move.
I feel like that's more common now. People actually want selfies.
Oh yeah, like that.
They're more comfortable or more common with
it's more personal.
the selfie angle, where it's kind of weird. Sometimes people will rather have a selfie than they would can you take our picture, and we'll step back and they'll actually do it the right way.
Yeah, but I will say you cannot get more alpha than the guy who takes a selfie of another man for someone else. Just hops in there. That guy's his lapdog at this point.
Oh boy, that's not what you want to be. It's not what you want to be there. In Rush We Trust is the next segment for Refresh the Timeline, and it is Michael Irvin. And Michael Irvin, if you've ever watched him on any program after a Cowboys game, you know that the man is absolutely unhinged. He was again this morning when he was getting his workout in while you were sitting on the driving range. He was out here getting this content out about Cooper Rush. Take a listen.
Hey, you see that? We did it again. I don't know how it happened, but we have done it again. We have stolen another one. I want us to understand this, Stephen A. Here goes the new slogan. It's as a backup, in Rush, we trust. As a backup, in Rush, we trust. As our backup of America's team, in Rush, we trust.
The only thing that would have made that better, Mike, is if it was at a 24-hour fitness and there were actually people in the background watching him scream,
he's not
getting his workout in.
I mean, I don't think that would change things for him, right? Everyone would have
done
it too. The bigger thing to me, Rush we trust, cool, yeah, whatever. They went for 176 on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
A week after going for over 100 really on the ground. With the backup quarterback, that's usually when Cooper Rush is in the game, you're game planning to stop the running game because you don't really think he's going to beat you through the air.
Yep.
And they only put up 23 points with that many yards on the ground. Probably job well done by the Giants in that regard to let him run, or not to let him run, but they still were in this game. But this Cowboys offensive line when Jason Peters is in there,
Yeah.
is a different animal in terms of run blocking. Like Tyler Smith, right off the rip here, is one of the better run blockers at the tackle position. He's already a plus run blocker at the tackle position. Terrence Steele looks excellent on the other side as a run blocker. Like as a run blocking line, terrific. Obviously, some issues in pass protection, but this line's going to be, that's what they're going to have to lean on.
No, they looked really great last night, and I think that's why you saw those elevated rushing yards, which the Cowboys clearly like to do. We hear from Jerry Jones all the time, right? They're trying to run their identity through the run game, through Ezekiel Elliott. They were able to do that because of, I think, how well the offensive line is playing, and we'll get to that a little bit more in our stats that matter section. But look, when you look at Cooper Rush's night last night, 82.1 passing grade for us, over 200 yards passing, had the one passing touchdown. He had a big-time throw. 0 turnover-worthy plays, though. That's where my eye goes when you talk about backup quarterbacks coming in, getting wins. That's what you want to see. You want to see them play well enough, but also not blow it, essentially. The rest of the team around you should be good enough. That Cowboys team should have been good enough on offense to best the New York Giants, and they were. And I do think it was because Cooper Rush wasn't trying to do too much. He has 0 turnover-worthy plays, and I think that's why they really got the win last night. If you take out drops from his wide receivers, which there were far too many, unfortunately, shout out CeeDee Lamb, that my fantasy team is regretful for that. He had an over 82% adjusted completion percentage. So Cooper Rush was playing really confident last night. Is he better than Dak? Is he more talented than Dak? No. Everybody calm the hell down about those kinds of things. But for what you would want out of a backup quarterback, I thought he came in and played well.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a reason why this Cowboys team was still the overwhelming, or was the favorite in the NFC East heading into the season with Dak. It's because it's a damn good roster, and especially on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, we were just talking about Micah Parsons, Trayvon Diggs getting a pick in this game. Like, against teams like this, if Cooper Rush isn't going to lose you the game, if he's going to operate, if he's going to play like this, they're going to beat the non-playoff teams of the world, and they're going to hang in. So if Rush continues to play like this, I don't think we should write the Cowboys off by any means.
All right, last refresh the timeline. Not a funny one, a more serious one, but it is something that was making NFL headlines, and that was what happened with Myles Garrett. He got into a single-car car crash yesterday. He was transported to the hospital, non-life-threatening injuries, and we have some updates on it now. The story is that there was an animal in the road, that he was swerving. It was wet on the road. It was just rained, and the car flipped over a couple of times. There was a passenger as well, but again, non-life-threatening injuries. He was discharged from the hospital last night. So I don't want to say everything should be good to go, but looked like from that picture could have been a lot worse. So thankfully, Garrett and the person who was driving with him in the car was okay.
Yeah, holy shit that they're okay, because that does not look okay.
No, it does not.
I've been in a couple serious accidents, and they shake you up, but like that is a next level. I've never been in something quite like that. I know Myles Garrett, even if he's sort of, physically okay after the fact, that takes its toll mentally, because that is something that, that probably was the life flash before your eyes moment there for him.
Have no idea what his status is for like playing this week or anything like that. We just wanted to make sure that we said on the show that the update is that he got discharged from the hospital, that all things considered, it could have been a lot worse, and it was not. First and foremost, the fact that he is okay. Just wanted to make sure that we relayed that news there as well. Before we get into our stats that matter, we're going to be reading off a lot of PFF data here in the next segment, talking about the Monday Night Football game that was. If you don't have a PFF subscription right now, now's a good time to do so. You can get the PFF Plus subscription, which is everything that you want. It's the one-stop shop, all-encompassing subscription here at PFF. For 25% off if you use the promo code FOOTBALL, just for listening to this show. So if you don't have a PFF subscription, do it now. Use the promo code FOOTBALL. Get yourself 25% off. Mike, what's some stats that matter in this game? We talked a little bit about some Cooper Rush stuff. You talked about the run game. I don't know if you want to highlight that a little bit more, but what are some stats that matter from Monday Night Football outside of the regular box score?
Yeah, I mean, it's this Giants offensive line. It's Evan Neal. I mean,
bad
stats that matter. 3 sacks allowed for Evan Neal, and we highlighted it. Saying, Micah Parsons versus Evan Neal is scary. I wanted some of these rookie offensive tackles to step up this week, and it pretty much knew it wasn't going to be Evan Neal doing so because of the matchup he had. And my God, look at it on the screen there. 31 point for just as the O-line as a whole. 34 pressures allowed, 5 sacks allowed. Obviously, 3 of those go to Neal. 31.9 pass blocking grade. And the crazy thing is, like, Andrew Thomas held his own on the other side. Andrew Thomas is playing at a Pro Bowl, if not all-pro level at left tackle this season. And doesn't matter, which is why, you need all 5 at the NFL level. One liability, like we saw last night, can really bring an offense to his knees. And unfortunately, I don't see it turning around real quickly for Evan Neal. Obviously, he's not going to have that tough a matchup every single week, but he just doesn't look quite ready.
He was bad last night, man. You know, for as much as everybody likes to point at Daniel Jones and they like to say, like, oh, like Jones holds on to the ball too long, he takes too many unnecessary hits, he's hesitant where he's going with the ball. His offensive line sucks and his receivers can't separate. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and make all the excuses in the world for Daniel Jones because I don't think Daniel Jones is a franchise quarterback. But I'm trying to give it full context. When the offensive line plays that poorly, the data that you just saw, who's going to succeed behind that offensive line? And when you've got wide receivers that can't separate, can't get open, when you're getting pressured that quickly, what are you going to do? What do you want from the guy? So, look, Daniel Jones is not a perfect quarterback in his own ways. But, man, that offensive line is rough. That was one of the worst offensive line performances I think that we are going to see this year from any team. How many pressures they gave up, how high the pass rush win rate was for the Dallas Cowboys. Even beyond just the sacks, it was just play by play. Daniel Jones was running for his life. That's not going to work for the Giants. And I understand that they were 2-0 going into this game. Ball bounces a couple of different ways. Maybe they could have got out here 3-0. But this is not a super confident record with them at 2-1. It's really not. We saw shades last night of why they were picked to be more of a top 10 NFL drafting team and not a playoff team in the end, not exactly a competitor for this division. So I think that unfortunately we're going to see some more losses for the Giants on the way if that offensive line cannot get any better. When you look at the pass rush too, I just wanted to flip sides to that. I thought they lost in both trenches. You looked at how poorly they played on the offensive line. Dude, defensive line. Total pass rush win rate below 20% at 19.4. Only 7 pressures on the entire night without Leonard Williams in the game. That defensive line did not have the talent to compete. Plain and simple. Plain and simple, I think. Without Leonard Williams, it was an overmatched trench battle between the Cowboys and the Giants. And a lot of coaches say that's where it's won and lost, and the Cowboys won both. And that's why they came ahead on the scoreboard, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Azeez Ojulari's first game back didn't have a great outing. I think he did draw a holding penalty from Tyler Smith, but I don't see this edge or this defensive line ever really getting to it this year. You're still relying on too many young guys, and Kayvon Thibodeau, who had his first game, and Azeez Ojulari, who's in year 2. These guys still need to develop, more likely than not, to be impact edge rushers. So I don't think both sides of the line of scrimmage are going to be great just yet. But they've invested there, so it's something that you want to see progress throughout the season.
What else? What else from this game? Some stats that matter. Go beyond the box score. What do you got for us?
Well, Kenny Golladay has some stats, some bad stats.
Oh, I was going to say, does he have stats?
We kind of touched on it. The 0 catches on 3 targets with a drop as well.
I think 2 drops.
2 drops.
I think he had 2 drops.
He was wondering why last week. He said, I should be out there regardless. I don't think so, Kenny. I think we keep you on the bench after this. That was ugly. And just obviously never been a separator, but when you're not making your contested catches either, which he didn't, 2 over 2 in this game, you're not bringing a lot to the table there, Kenny.
Jake said in the chat that Evan Neal got rolled like he was at a Travis Scott concert. Jeez, man. Jeez. I'm not giving up on Evan Neal. Just going back to the Giants' offensive line, I'm not giving up on Evan Neal quite yet because Andrew Thomas looked bad. We talked to John Schmiel yesterday on the show, and I asked him this very question. It's like, yeah, Neal's struggling out the gate, but wasn't Andrew Thomas? And now we consider him one of the best offensive tackles in the NFL this year.
It's more like, do you think it's going to fix this year? See, last year with Penei Sewell's issues, I was like, I think he can improve upon this. With Evan Neal, it's like, I think he's too far away to really turn it around in a meaningful way. Not like during this season. Now, year 2, year 3, year 4, that changes, but games just move too fast a little for him right now.
Ed said the Kayvon Thibodeau was overrated crowd is being validated. I wouldn't say that.
He played 1 game.
Hey, he's coming back. We got to give the man time. Come on. Got to give the man time. I want to shout out Tyler Smith in some stats that matter. You mentioned the run game, and you quoted some of the rushing stats that they had at the end of the game, but I think that that's due to Peters coming in, playing a couple of snaps. I think he played 14 snaps at left guard, but this man right here, Tyler Smith, was not supposed to be the starting left tackle for the Dallas Cowboys, and yet he is the #1 run blocker among all rookies, offensive linemen so far this season. He's played the most snaps at left tackle of any rookie, 182. Impact run block percentage, which is positively graded run plays, 11.9%. That's 11th among rookies. So this guy is playing. Mike, I'd love to get your pre-draft thoughts on Tyler Smith because when I looked at this player coming out of Tulsa, I was like, love the tools, love the athleticism, high ceiling player, but it felt like it was going to take a while for him. Not only is he starting at tackle, he's playing really damn well. I didn't think that was going to be the case early on.
I do agree. I do not think that was going to be the case early on either. And now we'll see, as the season goes on, if he can hold it up at left tackle. But like this early on, you're playing at this level. I don't think you backslide. I don't think it gets worse. And now the penalties are still an issue. 2 last night, 3 on the season. I believe he had 15 last year at Tulsa, led all FBS offensive linemen, which that's going to be an issue. He gets very handsy. He gets very grabby. You're going to have to live with that. Cowboys fans are probably scarred at this point with all the holding penalties over the past year and a half. But Tyler Smith's going to have his fair share of those. But physically, I said this during draft time, is why I was so high on him. He was there with Ike Ekwonu. He was there with Evan Neal. He was there with Charles Cross. He could do what those guys did. He just played at Tulsa. He just didn't get tested the way those guys did. Mm-hmm. And so for him to look like this, it's like they got a guy who could have been a top 10 pick. If you would have seen this tape already at the collegiate level, he would have been a top 10 pick.
Jared said every rookie has to be MVP caliber in week 1 these days or they're a bust. I feel like I agree with that. Yeah. That is how it feels sometimes. We look at these rookies and far too often we look at the ones that are playing really well and we make that the bar instead of just really appreciating how far above the bar that really is. I've said this before on the NFLSC podcast, but I don't think I've ever said it on the show. Back when I was in Tampa, I used to do some podcast shows with Ian Beckles, who played interior offensive line for the Bucs for like 5 or 6 years. And he knew I was into the draft. And we would have conversation about it, and he asked me about rookies, and he would watch how excited I would get about rookies. He'd be like, oh, this guy could compete for a starting spot, whatever. And Ian would always tell me to pump my brakes, and he would say, Trevor, rookies are supposed to suck, okay? That's plain and simple. I've been a rookie before. I was in that situation. They are supposed to suck. And so when you get guys like Tyler Smith who are playing really well right out of the gate, don't make that the bar. Mm-hmm. Point that out. That is praiseworthy how well they are able to do. And then on the other side, give guys like Evan Neal time. Evan Neal, I think, is going to be fine. You gave Andrew Thomas time, and now he's fantastic. You got to give these guys time. And same with Kayvon Thibodeau, right? Mm-hmm. Just give him a little bit of time. We're 3 weeks into the season. I know we like to overreact and all of that, and we even do that on the show because it's fun sometimes. But a little bit of a step back. Let's come back to reality.
Yeah, Devontae Adams in today's day and age would have gotten just destroyed online because his second year he had 10 drops on 60 catchable passes, 483 yards his entire season. He was awful.
Oh, man.
Awful in year 2. People wanted him cut. Best receiver in the NFL at one point. Is in the mix right now for it. People want him cut in year 2. So even the learning curve even goes beyond your rookie season. Sometimes guys need to play more football. Need to develop. Need better coaching. And you just hope they're getting it. That's all you really can say.
I got faith. I get faith in a lot of these guys. Let's move on to everybody's favorite segment of the week. It's Dogs of the Week, baby. We did this last week, and you guys absolutely loved it. We tried to fit it in the show yesterday, didn't quite get it, but we gave you guys a fresh 24 to come up with who your Dogs of the Week were. So Mike and I are going to give you 3 different players that we are awarding as our Dogs of the Week. We would love to hear from you as well. Get some names in the chat. Tell us some players who really stood out to you, who think deserve a shout out to be a Dog of the Week. Mike, who is your number 3 Dog of the Week?
Dog.
My number 3
he gets
dog.
After it. He's a dog. Dog. He scored 5 touchdowns. Dog. He's a dog.
I didn't know he had
He's a dog. He is a dog. Absolutely.
Number 3, dog.
I didn't know he had that on tap. That was perfect.
Jalen Waddle, Miami Dolphins wide receiver.
Dog.
Leading the NFL in receiving.
Yeah, dude.
At the moment.
Holy cow.
4 catches, 102 yards on 16 routes. In 16 routes. He leads the NFL in yards per out run as well, 3.98. Oh, excuse me. He's 2 yards behind Stephon Diggs. Didn't misspeak there, but he's way ahead of everyone in yards per route because he hasn't even been on the field that much. Only been on the field 86 pass routes, 19 catches, 342 yards in the season. I called him preseason probably the most underrated player in the NFL, or underrated receiver in the NFL, just because I thought he could do this. Seeing him on tape as a rookie, watching him get open at will, not even down the football field because they didn't have the time to utilize him in such a role. I was in awe. I mean, he was, for my money, like as good as Jamar Chase, just didn't get to put up stats because he wasn't in a role that featured him like that.
Yep.
And we're seeing it. I think we're seeing it right now.
He's fantastic, man. I mean, he is as advertised of what you wanted him to be coming out of Alabama. They're using him in a variety of different ways. I think Mike McDaniels feels like the perfect coach to have guys like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle in the same offense. And you're right, man. Waddle, too, is somebody who, when we watched him in Alabama, that dog mentality, he wasn't just at speed. He felt like he could go over the middle. He could be a contested catch guy. He could be reliable in a lot of different ways, even when the speed wasn't there for him to get that separation. I think he has turned out to be a full-time, all-around wide receiver. He's well on his way, and I think the stats and the data back that up. First dog that I got, Baltimore Ravens tight end Mark Andrews. Absolute dog. Okay, when you look at what this guy has done 3 weeks into the year, 32 receptions, first for all tight ends, 245 receiving yards, first for tight ends, 3 receiving touchdowns, first for tight ends, 15 first downs. The next closest Raven has 6. 80% contested catch rate, 36% threat percentage, which is basically wide receiver usage, how much they are going to him in that offense when he is running a route. Travis Kelce, and I feel as though Travis Kelce and George Kittle have gotten so much of the hype over the last couple of years. They get a lot of the top headlines for best tight ends in the NFL. And look, they certainly deserve to have that praise. They are absolutely fantastic. They're incredible players. I don't feel like Mark Andrews gets talked about enough. What he is for that Ravens offense, how important he is for Lamar Jackson. And look, I think that Lamar is an MVP caliber quarterback. But the guy that he is going to on the receiving end of so many of those passes that help the stats, that bump the scores, that get the wins, that increase the EPA per play, that just help the offense overall, it all runs through Mark Andrews. Every time Lamar goes to this guy, he absolutely delivers. And I wanted to shout him out as a dog of the week, not just because his stats are incredible, but because I feel like we don't talk about him enough. George Kittle and Travis Kelce get talked about more than this guy. And not to take anything away from them, but let's elevate Mark Andrews, man. He's playing unbelievable, and he has for the last couple of years. He is absolutely a dog of the week and a dog of the season, too.
Yeah, I mean, there's so few offenses in the NFL history that have their number one threat, their true number one, the guy they go to consistently the most, as tight end. We're seeing it with Chiefs now, and we're seeing it with the Ravens. That's the two teams in the NFL that it's like that. Maybe you could say the Falcons, but Drake London's overtaken their 49ers. Debo's overtaken George Kittle. Those are the two tight ends that are the true number ones of that offense. And the touchdown he had this past week was pretty nasty.
Looking in the chat for some early dogs of the week, Elliot said Devin Lloyd needs some love as a top dog. I don't think you had him on your list, right?
Did not have him on my list.
But good shout. I wanted to make sure that we shouted him out there.
Call him D-Roy frontrunner at this point.
Yeah, you did. Absolutely. Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson are my dogs of the week. Cole said Kenny Pickett is a dog in the cage for the Steelers. Potential dog of the week there. Sports Talk Center said Jelani Woods, dog of the week for what he had, game-winning touchdown against the Kansas City Chiefs. So those are a couple there. We'll get to more of you guys' dogs of the week. But, Mike, who's your number 2 guy?
Number 2 dog of the week. We're going to the safety position. Rookie Jalen Petrie of the Houston Texans. I predicted Derek Stingley would get a pick this week. Well, I was wrong. It was Jalen Petrie, the other rookie. He got 2. Took it away from Justin Fields. I believe it was cover 2 interceptions, really making Lovie Smith happy there on Sunday against the Chicago Bears. 4 defensive stops as well. Watching this guy play the run game is a sight to behold. Added a sack in the game as well. Like Jalen Petrie, everywhere on the football field. Still making some rookie mistakes, for sure. The grade reflects that. 53.7 overall in the season. But he's around the football consistently. He's going to improve. It's the missed tackles that are killing his grade right now. 10 missed tackles. As soon as that improves.
10 already?
10 already.
Oh, no.
Right. As soon as that improves, we're going to see a guy who's, in the conversation for top 10 to 15 safety in the NFL. That's the speed he's playing already.
He plays the position very, very well. And you and I saw that at the Senior Bowl too, right? Yeah. That's the benefit of being at the Senior Bowl and being able to see these guys play in person. There's so many times where you see a lot of the highlight clips of the Senior Bowl, and those are, you can see a handful of them, especially if you get different angles, and they're useful there. But I was really impressed with Petrie because I wasn't super familiar with his game going into the Senior Bowl, and it's just the way that he went about manipulating space, keeping his eyes on the quarterback, baiting the quarterback to throw the football, and then really closing in exactly when he needed to. It feels like that timing and zone is so advanced for Jalen Petrie, and I think that's why you're seeing a lot of the really great coverage ability there for him. Got to clean up the tackles, but a couple of takeaways already. You love it. Dog of the week. My next dog of the week, I'll stay in the secondary. J.C. Horn. Dog, man. And this guy was a dog at South Carolina, and he has already been a dog when he has been out there for the Carolina Panthers. This past week, 38 snaps in coverage, only 2 targets. He had the most snaps in coverage of any player on the Panthers, yet 2 targets to him, 0 receptions allowed. He had an interception, a forced incompletion, and he even came screaming off of a blitz, got his hand on a pass that ended up being intercepted as well. This dude's all over the place. If you want to talk about production, it's right there in front of you. But mentality is there too. That meme, that image of the x-ray was showing the ribs and there's like 3 dogs in there. That is literally J.C. Horn. That is 100% J.C. Horn. He doesn't care how old you are, how big you are, how much success that you've had in the NFL. J.C. Horn will line up against any receiver and play with about as much confidence as a cornerback have. That's what it means to be a dog of the week. We're already seeing him reap those rewards early in his career, even coming off that injury, man. So I was so happy to see him dominate the way that he did, because this dude, I think, is going to be a shutdown corner in this league for a long, long time.
Yes, already. I mean, got forgotten about, right? Because of the injury last year, because he plays for a team that doesn't get talked about in Carolina because there's not much interesting to talk about there. But he's been every bit as good, if not better, than Patrick Surtain has been for the Denver Broncos this season. Only 35 yards allowed in the year for J.C. Horn. Yeesh.
Dude, he's been killing it. He's been absolutely killing it. Going back to the chat, Scott said Dameon Pierce, dog. Lyndon said Javon Holland, Melvin Ingram. Ryan said Romeo Dobbs. Dobbs was definitely a dog of the week. We got a Frankie Luvu shout out back to Carolina, the linebacker there.
Former dog of the week.
Yeah, former dog of the week. Yeah. You're right. I've already shouted him out, but he continues to play super, super well. Cole also said Jimmy G is a dog in Dan Orlovsky's eyes because he stepped out of the back of the end zone, so he relieved Dan Orlovsky of those duties. BJ says Roquan Smith. DJ said Tank Lawrence. 3 sacks. 3 sacks last night. He was absolutely on fire. He was grading really high as a run defender, I know, last year. But for him to have that kind of production in the passing game to start the year off, that was incredible to see. Keep firing them off. Keep firing off your dogs of the week. Give some shout-outs to some players that you love as we get to our final ones. Mike, what is your final and number 1 dog of the week?
Got said in the chat a few times. It's Javon Holland.
Love it.
Safety.
Love it.
Everywhere. 2 sacks in this game. 2 pass breakups in this game. One should have been a pick. Forced fumble. He was all over the place. Javon Holland, he's right up there in my mind with Derwin James, with Minka Fitzpatrick for that. Just like whatever you want him to do on defense, he can do it. You know, as a blitzer, you saw him. As a run defender, you see him fill with a ferocity that you can't coach. And then in coverage, just makes plays consistently. In year 2, safety learning curve can be slow. Guys can take a while to develop their instincts and how they see the game at the NFL level compared to college. He played 2 years of college football, opted out year 3, didn't get to see that next step from him. We're seeing it now. As a rookie, he was the highest graded safety rookie in the NFL. Year 2, already a top 10 graded safety. He is an elite player at the position. Big reason why they won this game?
No, he's playing so well. He's seeing the field well. They're using him all over the place. He really is. The chat obviously said him a couple of times because, and I'm glad that he was your number 1 guy because you have to shout him out how well he is playing for the Dolphins. They're going to get a lot of hype for what they do on offense. You know, Tua, those wide receivers, how Mike McDaniel is operating things on the offensive side of the ball. Like, that's always going to get the headlines for the Dolphins this year just because that is the flashier side of the ball. But it's those defensive performances, and I talked about this yesterday, from Holland, from guys like Christian Wilkins, Jalen Phillips, Xavier Howard. Like, so many guys, it feels like, are stepping up on that team, and I really believe that Holland is already becoming a young leader in how he is performing. So love the shout-out as a dog of the week there. Going back to the chat, somebody said Justin Fields is the cat of the week. Come on, we don't need that. We don't need that out here.
Can we get a little Trey Hendrickson love?
Trey Hendrickson
2 forced fumbles, highest graded edge defender in the NFL right now.
Britt Break said hello from London. Salute. Watching from London. He said shout out Trey Hendrickson, highest ever graded Bengals defensive player. Oh, he also said throwback for Trev, a thick boy of the week, Samaje Perine. We love to give a shout out to the thick boy of the week. We got a couple more Devin Lloyd love shout outs. Cordell Patterson, dog of the week. Yeah, you love to see that. Over 140 yards rushing. They really needed that.
Who's your last one?
All right, my last one. It's been said in the chat a couple of times. Had to give him a big shout out because it was an unbelievable day and I've been waiting for it for so long. It feels like Devontae Smith, baby. Dog. When you look at this guy's stats in week 1 and week 2, it started off slow and I was I was bummed about it. Through the first 2 weeks, 62.2 receiving grade, only had 9 targets, 7 catches, just 80 yards. QBR when targeted, that should be 103, not 10.3. 10.3 would be really, really bad. That would have been even worse. Threat percentage, 11.4. They just were not going Devontae Smith's way. And I was like, oh, man, I had so much faith in this guy coming into the season. And yet when you look at what he was able to do this past week, elite receiving grade, 12 targets, 8 catches, 169 yards, 137.5 QBR, which would have been a lot better than 10 anyways. 31.6 threat percentage, wide receiver usage. They went to him often. He delivered. He was on the receiving end of a couple of big-time throws from Jalen Hurts. When this Eagles offense not just has their running game going behind that great offensive line and what Jalen Hurts can do, but when they have a diverse passing game to go to not just A.J. Brown, but also skinny Batman in Devontae Smith, also fast Batman in Quez Watkins, but really, Devontae Smith showing up, you love to see it. He was an absolute dog so many times when he was at Alabama, right? You look at this skinny dude standing on the line of scrimmage and go, somebody, for the love of God, press coverage this guy, get some hands in his face, and he's not going to be able to get off you. And yet, what did he do, Mike? He just won the damn Heisman Award because he was that uncoverable throughout the season. I loved seeing this success in the NFL, what he was able to do this past week. That dog from Alabama, we saw it again this past weekend. So Devontae Smith's my dog of the week.
Yeah, there was no chance of like him getting worse. You know, people were worried. You're week 1, no catches, 43 routes. What's going on? Sometimes it just bounces like that. Sometimes, especially when your offense is humming anyway. Like, you don't have to force one guy or go to a playmaker because everyone else is making plays. They scored 38 points in week 1. Devontae Smith is always going to get involved, and if he continues at this pace, 0 yards to 80 yards to 169, and we thinking 240, 250 next week. I mean, that's what it's saying to me.
Talanoa Hufanga getting more shout-outs for dog of the week. I mean, he's been playing incredible. I haven't gone back and watched the game from this past weekend, but I watched the All-22 from him the week before, and the freedom and the confidence that this dude is playing with.
Flies around.
He is flying. It's like they've given him total freedom to do whatever he wants on the back end. If he thinks he needs to come in to be a run defender, if he thinks he needs to creep up a little bit, he does. If they want him to play more middle of the field or a robber role, whatever it is, they're giving him that freedom clearly. Yeah. He's able to watch the quarterback. And, I don't want to say shocked because he's a talented player, but them giving him as much freedom as they have right now is a big reason, I think, why San Francisco's defense is still playing so well. Devontae Parker, Chris said him.
We sure?
He played well. Come on. He played well.
I mean,
didn't he led the Patriots in receiving this past week.
That's like you can't just be a dog 1 week.
Come on.
And turn back into
and get dogged the next.
Exactly. There
Okay. All right. We got some shout-outs for Skinny Batman. Chris Jones, dog of the week, another elite grade. Chris Jones is playing really well too.
Got that flag.
Oh yeah, that was an unfortunate one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at the rest of the schedule. So there's some other dogs of the week.
I mean, Nick Chubb's like always dog of the week. He
quite
ran
literally
his ass off last Thursday.
Quite literally a dog of the week. What's your thoughts on Cleveland right now? Like, do you think they're a threat at all whatsoever?
Yeah, I think they're the least talked about team.
Oh.
They should be talked about more.
Okay.
In Super Bowl terms. Like, they're playing this well with no Deshaun Watson. They have a good chance of rolling into, week 13 or week 12, whenever Deshaun comes back?
13, I think.
13.
I think.
With an above 500 record, with the Texans on tap. Like, they get into the playoffs, I'd be terrified of this team right now because it seems like they're only letting points when they bust coverages on the back end, which you'd think could get fixed. Maybe it won't. We shall see, but this is a very talented defense, and they're moving the ball offensively with a backup quarterback. Like, I'd be afraid of this team, like I said, if they roll into getting Deshaun Watson back above 500.
Back the end zone is a dog for the Broncos. Come on. We got a Randy Gregory shout-out for dog of the week. Christian Darrisaw, Jalen Ramsey. We got a couple of late submissions for Stephon Gilmore. People were saying that he was definitely a dog this week. He has been many times before in his career. All right, there we go. A little dog of the week segment. One of my favorites of the week. Glad you guys got in on it. Ooh, Khalil Herbert. That's one too. That's a really good one too.
I can't believe he's good. Looks good.
I know.
I don't know how he fell to 6. He's like the legit running back.
He is really good. It feels like he's producing every time they give him the ball. Maybe we're going to see a lot more carries for him in the future, even when Montgomery comes back and is healthy. Before we get to our guest, we have Dr. Eric Eager in the house. Want to remind you guys of the trivia question that we have on tap for today. Micah Parsons has 17 sacks through 18 games of his career. There have been 4 other players who had 16 through 18 games. Who are they? So think of some fast players who got to that many sacks. Alden Smith was one guest that we had at the beginning of the show. I think J.J. Watt's going to be one of those answers too.
Did we want the second hint or no?
Yeah.
What's the second hint?
Okay, hold on. Is it a big hint? Is it too big of a hint?
No. So I think the last guest that you had was Reggie White. Mike, you said?
Yes.
It's not that far back.
Okay, not that far back.
It's back to our childhood days, but it's not that far back.
Someone coming up when I was a kid. I think the chat said it correctly, honestly. I saw the chat say something. I'm like, yeah, that might be right.
Okay, all right. Well, I didn't see at the beginning. I think Alden Smith and J.J. Watt are 2 solid bets, but we'll talk bets with Eric, and then we will get to what the trivia is. So fire off your answers in the trivia for trivia in the chat, and then of course we'll get back to those answers before we round out the show. But let's talk about some early lines. Let's get you guys some early money this week. Eric has always told me that the best time to bet is at the beginning of the week before the lines adjust for whatever they think they messed up. So we've got Eric here with us on the show, the one and only Eric Eager. Eric, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm good. Can I throw out an answer? I think Javon Curse is one.
So, okay.
That was who the chat said that. I was like, I think that's it.
Oh. Yeah. I should have known that.
That's right.
The freak.
I would bet on that one.
Okay, that's definitely okay. Eric with a good submission there. That could be in the rotation. That's probably going to be one of our 4 that we end up going with there. So that was good. It was good stuff, Eric. Way to come in and immediately bring value to the show. We appreciate it. Eric's guest counts as our guest, though. This is like a show versus chat thing. So I'm going to take that as ours, so we get to keep that one. Eric, when you look at the early line of games here for Week 4 as we kind of turn the page here after Monday Night Football, you always told me this is the time when you want to get on the bets. Like, this is when it's prime to take advantage of some lines that you know are going to move throughout the week. So what are some early bets that you've got your eye on this week?
Yeah, there have been some that have already moved a little bit, but when you look in Detroit, the Lions were 6-point favorites against the Seahawks on open, and I'm the biggest Detroit Lions fan this season that there is. They're 3-0 against the spread. The Seattle Seahawks aren't very good. The Detroit Lions shouldn't be a touchdown favorite against anybody. You can find them at 5.5 still. I would take Seattle and the points early on in that one. Geno Smith has actually been fairly decent there. Detroit defensively, Aiden Hutchinson's banged up. The interior of that defensive line isn't great, and Seattle's going to want to run the ball and muck that game up a little bit. Additionally, Seattle's defense hasn't been horrendous so far this year, so that's one where it immediately jumped out to me. Another one that's interesting is Kansas City, even after a couple games where their offense has sputtered significantly, they are laying 2.5 points, presumably in Tampa Bay against the Bucs.
Right.
That is one where, I don't think, I think Tampa Bay's defense is being hidden by the fact that their offense has played horribly. Tampa Bay, to me, is a defense that is in the top 5 of the league and probably will be there the rest of the season.
I think Vegas is just what was Dan Campbell's what was his record against the spread last year? Wasn't it really good? Wasn't Campbell really good against the spread, Eric?
Yeah, they were left. Yeah, so he's 14-6 all time against the
okay,
numbers. So you
this
Dan Campbell, you're up, more than 7 units on your ledger there, including 3-0 this year. So I think there's going to be a little bit of an overreaction. I think also people have always looked at Detroit and said oh my goodness, this team, they're just the Lions. And I think even though they lost this week, they really did outplay the Vikings. They hung tough with the Philadelphia team that's really only crushed other teams after that. I think this Detroit Lions team is legit. Should they be laying 6 against anybody is a good question.
That I was just going to say, that feels like Vegas is okay, we're pissed off here, okay? Stop betting for the damn Lions. They're not going to cover this game. We're giving them the 6.5. What do you think about Bills-Ravens? Because this is a game that's huge. It feels like it should be a primetime game. It's not. It's one of the early slate games. Bills dealing with a lot of injuries. This one's in Baltimore. Ravens are getting 3 as the home team. What do you think about this line right now?
Yeah, this one, I mean, the Bills lost last week, but when you look at the fundamentals of that game, like they outplayed the Miami Dolphins significantly. They outgained them by like 2-1. Tua, Tyreek was not really a factor. And, when you look at that Bills team, incredibly resilient to defensive injuries, right? And McDermott and Frazier are, I think Frazier's going to probably end up with a head coaching gig relatively soon here, given how well he's performed. But Lamar Jackson in the last 8-9 days has more 3-touchdown, 100-yard rushing performances as a quarterback than the rest of the NFL history combined. So I would have to take the points with the Ravens just because you're getting, a field goal. You're getting more than a field goal depending upon where you look. And last year, even at their very worst, that team lost their last 6 games. 5 of them were by a field goal or less. This team keeps the games close. And furthermore, you have the kicker, right? You're not going to have any points. You're not going to lose this game by 4 because your kicker missed an extra point type of thing. So this is one where I have to take the Ravens getting the 3.5 in what should be the best game of the weekend in my estimation.
So the most surprising line to me going through initially was the Bengals giving 3.5 to the undefeated Miami Dolphins. I know it's at home. I know it's a short week on Thursday night. But help me make sense of that because the money's on Cincinnati as well here.
Yeah, I think the Tua injury is being thought of as legitimate. I think the Bengals defense is being underrated. This is the point about the Bengals that we have to speak in a sober fashion about the Bengals, right? The prior to last week against the Jets, all 7 of the Joe Burrow starts in the last 7 times. So, the previous 5 last year and the first 2 this year, every single one of those games, the Bengals either had the lead or were tied in the final 2 minutes of regulation. They won the first 4 of those, and we're all we're x-raying Joe Burrow and being like, he's got that dog in him. And then they lose the Super Bowl. They lose the first 2 games of 2022, and we're all like, well, what's wrong with the Bengals? Well, nothing's wrong with the Bengals. The Bengals are the same team that they were when they made the Super Bowl last year as they were when they lost to Cooper Rush and they lost to the Steelers in the first 2 weeks of the season. So if you would have told people at the beginning of the year, okay, the Bengals are going to be favored by a little over a field goal at home against the Dolphins, basically saying that the team that just represented the AFC in the Super Bowl is about 2 points better than the Dolphins, I think we all would have said, oh, that seems fair, right? And now, we did get the Dolphins come from behind win against the Ravens, but if you take out, and you can't, of course, but if you take out the last quarter and a half of the Ravens game, this team hasn't scored that many touchdowns on offense.
Right.
And so that's kind of, I think, where they come around. Now, Melvin Ingram might make, the life miserable for Joe Burrow and everything like that, but I do think this number makes sense. I would not lay the points with the Bengals, but I would not necessarily rush to bet the Dolphins given, kind of the noisiness of their season so far.
Last one I want to ask you about. Jags at Eagles. Jags are the talk of the town right now, as are Philadelphia is potentially the best team in the NFC. Jags getting 6.5 after an absolute shellacking of an albeit beat up Los Angeles Chargers team. What do you think about this line, Eric? Where are you going on this game?
Interestingly, the Eagles in the last 2 games have scored 24 first half points and 0 second half points in both games. So when you look at the app there, the under is a decent play. If they get out to a lead, they've done a really good job of just salting games away. The Jaguars, want to run the football with James Robinson, who is a medical marvel coming back from an Achilles at that position. I think, look, it's going to come down to, in my opinion, the Eagles are going to get what they want on the outside against those corners. It's going to come down to, can Devin Lloyd and Foye Oluokun and the linebackers can that second level of the Jaguars contain Jalen Hurts? Because that has really been the backbreaker for opposing teams. It hasn't been Hurts' passing. It's been Hurts being a good enough passer and then, them controlling the line of scrimmage. And then when the play breaks down, Hurts being able to lift the floor of that offense. To me, that's going to be the real thing here. I don't know if I can lay the full 6.5 with the Eagles. I do think under is the play in this game more so than either side.
All right, there we go. All right, I like that we're even just entertaining the Jags covering that kind of a number against a team that's as good as the Eagles. That means we're on the right track. That means the Urban Meyer days are well behind us, and the Jaguars are actually on the right track here. Eric, we appreciate it, man. Thanks for making our wallets a little fatter going into the week. All the best, my friend.
Of course, guys. Take care.
Jags are winning the game. No, they're not. I'm just kidding.
Jags do have second highest run defense grade of any team in the
They
NFL right now.
do.
That D-line's playing real well.
Are they? I think they're fifth in EPA per play, total.
And they're kind of built, right, with Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen to at least track Jalen Hurts down. On those option runs, I don't think you're worried about those guys, losing track of Jalen Hurts and him scampering out the back door because they're that athletic that they can actually get to him in space. So I'm curious. I'm curious to see how they fare.
All right, I want to see what the answer to this trivia question is. At the top of the show, we asked the chat, who are the 4 other players, along with Micah Parsons, who have had 16 sacks in the first 18 games of their career? Micah Parsons is 1. He beat the NFL record. He's now got 17, so he's number 1 in that regard. But who are the other 4 that had 16? What's our final answer here? Alden Smith is 1.
Yeah.
I'm saying J.J. Watt's 2.
I like Von Miller, too, but I know Joey Bosa started really hot because he only played 12 games his rookie year, right? He missed the first 4 weeks, but still had double-digit sacks.
So he'd be really close.
I would say Joey, and then I'd go Javon Kearse.
Javon Kearse.
Yeah.
So you want to go? Are we comfortable with Alden Smith, J.J. Watt, Joey Bosa, and Javon Kearse?
Sure.
You said that the
Even
chat
though
gave you
I think I would go Von Miller over J.J. Watt, but we can go J.J. Watt over Von Miller at that. But I'm not sure either of them. I don't think either of them
so
are right.
hot. No, give me this one. I want
No, because he didn't get off. Did he have? Because
No?
he played his full rookie year, right? Did he have 16 sacks as a rookie? J.J. Watt. I'm trying to think. Who had a lot of sacks as a rookie?
If you're super confident,
Bosa
if you are super confident in Von Miller, we can go Von Miller.
I'm not confident in Watt. It's more what I'm saying. I just don't.
All right, I'll go with you.
I'll
I'll give you this one. So we're going. All right, Quinn, are you listening? We're going Alden Smith. We're going Von Miller. We're going Joey Bosa. And we're going Javon Kearse. Shout out to the chat for Javon Kearse. The chat thought of Javon Kearse, and Mike took a peek
Eric
at it. So
also.
Okay.
Confirmed.
Oh yeah. Eric said that. Eric said Javon Kearse as well.
You guys were damn close. Alden Smith.
Yeah.
Spot on, 16.5.
Okay.
Joey Bosa, 16. Javon Kearse, 16.
Wait, Matthew, how did you not know that?
Yep, Mike.
You
dropped the ball on that one.
Mike.
That
was
one
the
doesn't
easy
even ring
one.
a bell. It doesn't ring a bell at all.
Oh, I would have never guessed.
He must have had 5 in his first game. He must have played the Bears in his first game of year 2, because I don't remember that.
I would never got Clay Matthews.
Yeah.
I would have never got it.
You could have said Clay Matthews, and I would have been like,
Man, I wonder how close the other ones were. I don't know, Quinn, if you have that off the top of your list, but that was.
No, we do have a chat champ though.
We do have a chat champ. So
yeah.
So I forgot to mention this at the very top of the show. We are going to be introducing something new to the show. We're going to be crowning a chat champ at the end of every show. So you'll obviously get a shout out. It's for how active you are in the chat. If you give some great answers, if you start some great conversations, just if you were the best in the chat that day. We're going to crown you. We're going to give you a shout out at the end of every show. And then what we'll do is for the show that follows, so if you're the chat champ on Monday, for the show on Tuesday, if we ever have some sort of tiebreaker, like if we're ever okay, the chat's kind of split on this, we'll call you out. We'll be like, okay, you got to split the tie. You got to be the chat champ. You got to be the leader for the chat that day. So it's just a fun way to hopefully give you guys some recognition, because we love it when you guys get in on the show. But who's the chat? Who's the chat champ today? Who is the first ever chat champ here on It's Just Football?
Shout out to Richard Broadley. He got it. He got it kind of right off the bat too. He said Kearse, Joey Bosa, Alden Smith, and they did kind of cheat. He gave 5 answers instead of 4, which is okay.
What was the extra one?
He said Khalil Mack.
Okay, so he said it was one of them.
He got Clay Matthews though. So Rich got it right. Shout out Rich. You're the chat champ.
For Rich to get Clay Matthews in there, I feel like he deserves the chat champ right there. Congrats, Rich. Very first chat champ here on It's Just Football. How did you not get Clay Matthews?
So Matthews only had 10 sacks as a rookie, but then 6 sacks his first 2 games of the year too. And it wasn't even against the Bears. I lied.
You're saying 10 sacks as a rookie like that's fucking chump change.
Well,
that's a beastie rookie season.
Well, I mean, it's 18 games. 10 sacks as a rookie, that means he has to get to 16. I didn't think he had that many sacks as a rookie to get himself up in the mix.
Did he play in all 16 games his rookie year?
And he did.
So then he got 6 in 2 games.
In the first 2 weeks
Wow.
of his second season. Whereas Von Miller, 11.5 sacks as a rookie, and then 3 in his first 3 games. So he missed 1 game as a rookie. 3 in his first 3 games of year 2.
Man.
So only 14.5.
That's he'd be a dog of the week. He'd be absolutely a dog of the week. Big shout out to Rich, who was a chat champ, the dog of the day, but in a good way. I feel like saying dog of the day means bad, but it's not in this case. You're a champion of it. Way to get the trivia question right. That one stumped us. It stumped, I think, most of the chat as well. I think a lot of you guys had some fantastic answers in there. But to get Clay Matthews in, to get the shout out in, big salute to him. Appreciate everybody watching today. This show was a lot of fun. Tomorrow, it's back, folks. We're doing trivia. Mike and I won trivia last week, so y'all get a shot at redemption. We're not cheating. I'm saying it again. We're not cheating. You got to bring your A game. If you want to take us down, we're going the set versus the chat tomorrow in football trivia in the NFL. You guys got to take the crown from us. Maybe Rich can help you out, be the deciding factor as the chat champ of the day. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That is Mike Renner. For everybody in the production suite, thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you tomorrow right here on It's Just Football.
It's not about politics, it's about football.
This is a simple game.
We're going to run the ball, and we're going to pass the ball. He's just going to play football, really.
How good of a football player are you?
I just get in and try to spin it. That's all.
I just love the game.
It really is the best time of the year.